Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Global Metaverse Bootcamp. We are sorry we had some issues with the live stream for today's session. Today's session will be on token economy. And our first speaker is Professor Zihua Wang from the University of British Columbia. He will be talking to us today about opportunities of DeFi and NFTs in the metaverse. So, Professor, whenever you are ready.
Oh, cool. Thank you for having me. This is Professor Zihua Wang. So I'm a professor in the University of British Columbia, based in Vancouver. Yeah, today we're gonna talk about the opportunities of DeFi and NFT in Metaverse. Wow, so the three buzzwords here, right? DeFi, NFT, and Metaverse. We do see there are some opportunities for DeFi in and NFT in the Metaverse. NFT, is a non-fungible token. And we do have some projects already in the market and to help the people to play DeFi in the NFT with the NFT concept. And Metaverse, we have this totality series lecture about the Metaverse. So let's see, let's find out and what we can do with the DeFi and NFT in the Metaverse. I think that most of you had heard a lot of stories about those the DeFi, NFT, and Metaverse. So how about we come back a little bit? So I prepared the first slide and from another angle. So see here, it is from tribes to communities. And from this picture, you can see that we were with the modern scientists. Okay, so then we have those, we were apes and we come to be human beings and we are playing those mobile devices and we are stepping into the age of using VR, and we can, for example, in the future, we can upload our spirit on the internet. Maybe, I'm not sure. But from the very beginning of the anthropology, okay, so we were having the tribe. The term tribe is used in many different contexts to refer to a category of a human social group. The predominant usage of the term is in the discipline of anthropology. So from this definition of the tribe, we know that a human is a kind of the beings and like to social. And we want to have the connections with our relatives, with our friends. We want to share our opinions with others, and we want to talk about values. We want to talk about the meanings, this is a very important part of a human, and it is a very basic right for a human. Okay, social, and social is our basic need, just like the food and the drinks, water. So we need to social. But when we have the revolutions of technologies and we have the internet, and nowadays we are talking about the metaverse, we now have those communities. So community is not just for crypto, but we do have different communities. Whenever you launch a project in DeFi with blockchain, you are talking about how to build up the community, and we have those KOLs and to lead opinions in the community. Okay, so community is a social unit with commodities such as norms, religions, values, customs, or identity. So from this sense, we know as a human and from tribe in the old world and with community in the modern world, we have something in common. People still would like to social, but between those and different from those the tribes for community, then we have those norms, religions, and values, and custom and identity. So from this sense, so let's think about. Just as I said, the social is a very fundamental requirement for people. We would like to exchange the opinions. But when we go into the internet, for example, when you play the computer game, you have two choices. You can play the computer game with yourself, just by yourself, or you can play some computer game with your friends, sitting in your living room and play the PlayStation for with you together, or you can join this online game. Okay. But I think that with all of these three options, you would like to at least have your friends in your living room or play with some friends on the internet. So if we agree that the social is a fundamental requirement for human beings, and then it's a very important sector in our modern society, then I think that we need to think about it more. Okay. So technology and the economy and the culture. Let's just put this social in a very big picture or in a very big background. We'll say the technology, economy, and the culture are intertwined. Why? Because the economy, it is the result of the technology evolution. So think about it, we have the first evolution, second, and third for the internet. Then the economy changes a lot. You can see those big companies in the world, okay? Google, Amazon, okay? Or Facebook, which is called Meta here, okay? So those big companies, they are just the result of the third evolution in technology. Okay, we have the computer, we have the internet, so then we have those big economy players nowadays. And with this insight, with this side, we can think about the culture. Is the culture nowadays the same as the culture in the last 40s or 30s, or is the same culture than in the 2 centuries ago? Probably not. Okay, so I will say that the culture is it depends on the economy, and different economy will shape different cultures. So they are intertwined. But what the culture can help us to make better life, because the culture will change people's idea, and people action idea. So that's where the technology start from. So I would say that this is the spiral of the technology, economic, and the culture changes. We first have the technology evolution, and then we change the economy, and then we have the different cultures that suitable to that economy. That's the humans need, and then with those culture, and we can have more inspiration, and we have the more technology developed. So culture refers to the arts and the other manifestation of human intelligence and achievement regarding the collective, collectively. And what we have, think about what we have the culture in the metaverse could be. Okay, it can we can build the entire world in the metaverse. We can have those our psychology requirements in the metaverse, not the physical. Okay, we still the human beings in the physical world, but I think that the culture, well, we will have those another kind of culture developed or built in the metaverse. And why we have that? Because the resources in physical world are more and more limited, right? Think about that. If you want to pursue some self-fulfillment, okay. So this is a very general concept of self-fulfillment because we have different needs. And then in the next slide, you will see that we have the Maslow's the different level of requirements in psychology and built by the Maslow. But you know, with those requirements, but we have limited resources in the physical world. So that satisfying everyone's requirements becomes like impossible. But the metaverse is the start of the new cultural revolution because it can free from the it can be free from the physical restrictions. And if we can transfer those feelings and emotion requirements to the metaverse, I will say that maybe every person in the world can be fulfilled. Okay, they can have the self-recognition, and then they can be appreciated, and then they're valued while also be valued by their social peers in this metaverse world. That will be a good idea. So let's come to the next slide. So in the world in Metaverse, we have the physical world, as I said, we have limited resources, and it probably cannot fulfill everyone's need. But the cyberspace, we can think about the cyberspace as resource unlimited. Why is that? Think about when you wear the VR glass, then you can enjoy the very real world. Okay, if you, I'm not, for example, then you can most of us probably in our life cannot be an astronaut, right? Because we have limited resources to send you to the space, and one ticket to go into space is very expensive and maybe quite far beyond our affordability. But with those VR glasses, we have the chance, and we will, for example, and can enjoy some feelings like that we are astronauts. And the cyberspace can be layered in different worlds. So physical world, we have only one unique world. People say that we have a unique Earth. Yes, it is. But for the cyberspace, we can virtualize this cyberspace into different layers. And in the physical world, I have one identity. I'm a professor in the University of British Columbia. Okay, this is my job. And people will label me a lot of tags. Okay, so how many papers this professor has published? Okay, what's the citation number of this professor in Google Scholar? Okay, how many students then this professor has supervised? But this is just the one, if we think about this is the one physical world. So all of those labels is just in one dimension. But with the cyberspace, we can have multiple dimensions. And maybe in the future, and I can join different worlds. Okay, different worlds, I think. Okay, I mean, so in this world, I can be a professor, and then I can be another career, and I can do another career in another world. It's the cyberspace. And then because it's a resource unlimited, I can, for example, can enjoy different kind of life. If I put my VR glass, I can transfer between different worlds. Okay, and then maybe then I can have different personalities. Okay, and we have to admit that every person, okay, we do have different personalities. But with the physical world, we can only adopt one. It's very sad, actually, right? But we are talking about this Metaverse. We do not want to talk about the sad story. But with Metaverse, I would say I focus that we eventually can explore our personalities in different kind of worlds. So that's the conclusion for this slide. And we will have the multi-world of the Metaverse, and we can enjoy kind of different lives. Okay, we can enjoy different kind of personality, and we can do those things that we may afraid of to do in the physical world, but you can somehow enjoy that in Metaverse. So we do see that Metaverse is a very good idea, at least, and then and then it's worth us pursuing this the Metaverse. And we have those 7 layers. I think that you may have seen these 7 layers in other presentations. So at the fundamental is the infrastructure. Okay, we have the 5G, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6, 6G, and the cloud, or different kind of the manufactured technology for those chips and the GPUs and those materials. Because this is the fundamental of the IT world and the cyber world. So why we want to have the 5G or Wi-Fi 6 or 6G? Because if you just play a game, okay, I mean just a traditional computer game, it does not require you so much bandwidth. It should be enough. Okay, you will feel very small lag. So for when you play the online games. But if I want to transfer the feelings, if I want to transfer the not just the 3D space, okay, when you put a VR glass, yes, we need to have a relative much more higher bandwidth than the bandwidth you require to play, for example, the computer game, because it needs to render the entire 3D space and cast that, you know, in your VR glass. Well, but just having this VR glass and we're enjoy this or dive into this virtual 3D world is not enough to implement the real Metaverse. we need to have the feelings, we need to have the smiles, we need to have the feelings or touches, okay? So when you transmit more information to the recipient, definitely we need to have more bandwidth. And those bandwidth is the physical resource, it's the resources in the physical world, right? And so those the scientists, those researchers would like to develop the faster and fast internet or higher technology in the information exchange to help the people deliver more information and to those players and to the data users. Then we can somehow reconstruct different kind of world, okay, in this metaverse. And one layer above is the mobile smart glasses and wearable. It's still the hardware stuff. And on the next layer is the edge computing, AI agent, the microservices, and the blockchain. So eventually, we know we have something that we have heard is the blockchain technology, and we have the edge computing, and we have the better computational resources, and to help the people deal with those the information requests. Okay, we have some the edge computing, so you can cache the information on the edge. It is when you require a piece of picture, when you require a piece of music, it does not need to transfer the file from the other end of the world. It's just very can be delivered from the very near devices in your home or in your community. And the next layer is the 3D engine. Okay, we have those the multitask and the geospatial mappings. But all of this first 4 layers, they are for technologies. So what do we have for the for our players? We have the design tools, assess markets, workflow, and it's just like creator economy. Because we need to create the new concepts. No one know. Okay, if we just for example, replicate our existing world, this is not very inspiring. So we would like to create different kind of feelings, and definitely we need to have the different creators joining us. And we have this the discovery. Okay, if you just yourself, it will be boring. Just like I said, since the very first slide, we said that the social is the very fundamental requirement for human beings, and we would like to know each other and how to find those people having the same value and can exchange the idea with. That is the discovery part. But eventually, we will have the experience enhancement. We want to play games. We want to do the social. We want to do the esports. Okay, we want to when you wear the VR glass and when you listen or just enjoy the talk show, we would like to produce the real feelings that you were sitting in the theater and then see the talk show, right? That would be awesome. And shopping, okay, so right now we are shopping on Amazon, but it's still not similar of the experience when you just working in this plaza or in the shopping center. So, and you cannot try your clothes properly, right? So sometimes you need to buy the clothes from Amazon and you need to return it back, or when you try on this shoe, it does not fit. So the shoppings and the theaters, they're very, very, I would say it may not be achieved in recent years, but with those technologies, as I said, okay, you have those internet, you have this edge computing and the AI, and then we have the tactile internet. We can transfer not only just the data, but also we can wear some gloves or wear some other devices, so we can transfer the feelings. Then that'll be a super cool experience eventually in the maybe in the next or in the next decade or in the next 2 decades. So still, okay, are we ready on the bottom layer? From technical side, I will say no. We still, with our technologies, we cannot fulfill all of those the hardware requirements. But we somehow, okay, can satisfy some sort of requirements. Okay? And then with those VR glasses, we can, or AR glasses, we can have different feelings. But when we go into this virtual world, go to the cyberspace, so how to represent those, we still have those resources limit. We have the resource limitation, even though that we say that the resources in the cyber world is unlimited, but we still need to social with others. And when you social with others, we need to identify ourselves. So how to differentiate between you and others? Okay, we may have different kind of clauses, and we have different obsessions. Okay, then that we have the very raw idea about, even in the virtual world, in the cyberspace, we still have different, we need to have some assets. We need to own something, and we need to exchange not only just the idea, but also something in this cyberspace. That's the concept of the NFT where we can play with, right? Because it's a non-fungible token. And the non-fungible token is, so this is the Maslow's hierarchy of need, okay? And no matter it is in the physical world or in the cyber world, okay, I would say there's from the third layer, love, belonging, okay, esteem, including this confidence, self-esteem, and then the achievements, respect by and for others, and set the self actualization is moral, creative, and spontaneous. So those top three layers, this is very common for both the physical world and the metaverse. Okay, and for those safety and then the physiologies, I would say, okay, sometimes we still need that in the metaverse. We still need that. For example, when you play a game, you want to survive in the game. You want to achieve the goal. Okay, if you cannot survive during the game, then how you can win the game? And then, but very fundamental is breathing, food. Okay, we have those elements still inside the game. I think that you have played a lot of games. In the games, you have the food to add your energy, to add your blood. Okay. But I will just highlight the first three layers. Okay, because it is the very fundamental requirement in the metaverse still. But in order to achieve this, okay, if you just provide the resources in this metaverse without any requirement, so whatever you want, you will be given. I think that you will lose the interest of playing the game. For example, why you want to play the game? Because you want to have this self fulfillment. Okay, you want to have the self actualization inside the game. But if you give a lot of resource in the game, okay, there is no one can beat you in the game. Okay, and then so that no bullet can kill you in the game. You will feel this game is a little boring. It's very boring. Okay. So still then we need to have those requirements, okay, replicated, where we want to have some requirements in this metaverse, okay, reflect the real situation. And so we have the identities, the social access, and the interface. So those are the NFTs. But the NFTs also play as the interface of the experience, right? So later on you will see, for example, then we have different NFTs as the avatar, but we also have the NFTs as loot. Okay, I think that you have heard loot. It's just a kind of script, and with those scripts, then we can add more features. So, sorry. So all of those are the values of NFTs. So if we agree that NFTs do have value, the NFTs do have value, then that this value and it can be joined with those DeFi platform. So then to quickly go review this, the financial system. With the traditional financial system, we have those banks and insurance companies and stock exchanges, and that permit the exchange of funds. And with the borrowers, lender, investors exchange the current fund to a finance project, either for consumption or productive investment, and to produce a return on their financial assets. So this is traditional financial system. But what is DeFi? Let me check the time and make sure. Okay, we still have maybe 10 minutes. So what is DeFi? DeFi offers many of the financial services controlled by the computer code. Okay? As I think that we know DeFi, we do not have those physical banks, and also, and the banks and other financial institutes have the power over your funds, so that your fund may be frozen. Okay, and then so, but with the DeFi, then you are the only controller of the fund you have in your ledger. And DeFi gives participants the opportunities to access borrowing and the lending market. So we have a bunch of examples here, like the RV. I think that you know RV a lot. So basically, it's a lending protocol. So if you can, let me share this one here. Where is that? Oops, okay. Share screen. Yeah, where is my screen? I want to share, but anyway, so let me come back.
Yeah, you might need to share screen again.
Yeah, so okay, so here is RV. Yeah, so RV is the a very well-known lending protocol. So you can get the money out from this RV, and later on you need to pay it back. And when you want to borrow money from this RV, you need to have some collateral. Okay, so you can put the some other kind of tokens and then into this RV, or you can put your the WETH or the WBTC into this RV, and you get the money out. And then and also that your collateral has different kind of price. The collateral is also the price of collateral is also fluctuating. So if you played RV before, you know there is a healthy factor. I think it's called a healthy factor about your loan. So if the collateral price drops, and then if it's within some threshold, then the asset can be liquidated. Okay. So so you can think about this is this is very similar to the our centralized finance. Okay, you have some collateral, and for example, you have the house as the collateral, so you can have the mortgage, or you can have the car as the collateral, and you can borrow some money. But when this price of the collateral, with value of the collateral, changes, you sometimes need to, you have to add more collaterals in order to keep your loan. Okay, otherwise this item will be liquidated. This is RV, and we also have, for example, the take long and short positions on cryptocurrencies, and then we have a very featured. It's just launched in the last month. It's called Interpify. So allow me to share this. Okay, so Interpify is amplified yield and insured asset with Interpify. It's the kind of the market prediction. But this is lossless. Okay, lossless. In here, for example, then you can bid the price of the cryptos. Okay, BTC or weekly. So you all see that as well, the BTC price be higher than this value when the game ends. So we have the 2 days. So, and then it's in the game. Not only the BTC, we can also predict the market for Tesla and Ohm. Okay, and we support this project support different kind of the beating currencies like the USDT, USDC, and DAI, like that. And this is lossless, so the interest will only the cost. Okay, because I know this project because it is just send some funds from this Interpify to RV and get some yield, and use the yield and then to pay the winner. So this project is actually done by the UBC team. So I somehow know the people in this group. So it's another kind of the shortage or the long of the market. We also have the earned returns through the yield farming. So Olympus DAO. The Olympus DAO is also very popular. It's very popular. So you stake the DAO inside the staking pool and get more DAO, and then if the period ends. So let me just show you this. That's DAO. Okay. Anyway, I'll just come back to here. So basically, for the decentralized finance, and we have those pillars in the decentralized finance. We have the stable coins, and lending and borrowing protocols. We see that exchanges. We have a lot of those kind of swap, okay? the Uniswap, SushiSwap, QuickSwap, PancakeSwap, different chains also. And we have those derivatives. It's kind of future market or future contracts. We do have that. And the insurance. Right now, we do have insurance on the DeFi and the governance. When the people talk about the the decentralized autonomous organization DAO, it is then people will launch some of those DeFi projects. They also have this governance token. Okay, people call those native token right now the governance token, so people can vote. Like I think that we have also the mentor from the master network. Okay, master network. So when you want to have, for example, we want to have the Mask IDO, there is a vote, and then the token holders of Mask will vote if this project will have the Mask IDO, and people can just trade with the social network. So this is the difference between traditional and the traditional finance and DeFi finance. They're just a very very good feature, because this is a blockchain is a global market. We cannot just wait for when this bank is on the office hour and will do the trade. Okay, it's very restricted to that country. With this blockchain, with DeFi, you can trade whenever you want, and then you have control of your own assets. Okay, it will not be frozen. And also it says trustless. No need to worry about if the protocol will do what it said will do. And then stability and transactions are completed in near real time. Okay, if you pay a decent gas fee, then the transaction will be processed in real time. And then there's no need to disclose the personal details. So because I said that so right now then we can think about why that the DeFi is suitable for the metaverse. Because okay, the metaverse is a global world. Okay, it's just like the physical world. We cannot just say, okay, you cannot redeem the token at that time. Then you need to wait a couple of hours until that the bank goes online. We do not want to have that. So that the DeFi is suitable for the cyber world. And also then we have different identities. Okay, and sometimes we want to split our identities in different worlds because we have different requirements in different worlds. We may play different careers in different worlds in the metaverse. Then we want to hide our personal details properly, okay? Because we do not want to be narrowed down to the physical world. This is you. This is some guy in the physical world. And then your fund should be secured. So the DeFi is very attractive for the metaverse. So let's think about how to bridge the NFT's value to DeFi for metaverse. We do have the DeFi project working on this. For example, we have the NFT borrowing and the lending. We have the Vara and then NFTFi. But for those lending and borrowings with NFT, we may have some problem. So I would like to show you this link. So I need to stop the sharing and sharing this page with you. So this is a report created in October this year, just 1 month ago, 6 weeks ago. So this report is like in the combination of crypto, two biggest buzzwords. So you can see that it's just like this. So around 3 months ago, an NFT collector borrowed 3.5 Ether. currently worth about this value on the NFTFi platform. To make the loan, they put up an elevated the constructions NFT, a part of the art blog. Okay, it's some collection. So it is which were sold for this value. But right now, you know that over that time span, the value of this NFT shot up. This was largely triggered by the endowments from the punk is a punk member. So I think that you know the punk. And then, so that's not before long, they were selling for 85 to 20 ETH for this value. So basically that when you use the NFT as a collateral, because NFT is non-fungible, you cannot just take the half, really, you cannot take the half of the NFT. But when you, because it's a fluctuating thing, when the people liquidate NFT, then that you will lose your NFT. And so it's not very good in this NFT lending protocol. Then that we have some new concepts called the NFT fragmentation. Then the people can just stake the NFT, but people can redeem a lot of those fungible tokens. And then it's kind of the share. You can think about this NFT fragmentation just like the share of the NFT. You are not owning the entire NFT, but you're owning a share according to the portion of the fungible token, and then mint from this NFT. We do have the project called the Uniquely. Okay, right now it's still a live project, and we have the NFT staking, NFTX. So, so you can see that NFT from the just to come back the presentation a little bit. We further agree that people have those requirements, okay, social requirements, and we believe that we cannot fulfill everyone's requirement in the physical world. So we can, with some technologies, we can build some different world in the metaverse so that people can enjoy different kind of lives. And with that different world, we have the NFTs and as the associations or the belongings to those players in this metaverse. And we do believe that NFT has its value. Because it has value, then we can have this NFT borrowing, lending, fragmentation, and staking product right now already been launched in the blockchain, in the blockchain community or in the world. But we have more kinds of NFTs, right? So we have the avatars. And in the last bull market, so we had the Crypto Kitty, and then we also had the Crypto Punk in the last bull market, but its value shows up in this round. And the Broad Ape Yard Club is also a very popular NFT project. And land and the constructions on the piece of land, Matrix World is launched by the people in also in White Matrix. So it is a very good project, and then because it's a land, you can build something inside the land. For example, I can realize I can somehow build this kind of exchange, or I can build a bank inside this land. Okay, then we can place some of the DEX or the decentralized finance activities by visiting this land virtually in the metaverse. We have the script loot. I said that we have the music NFTs. There was news in the last 2 weeks. I cannot remember. So there are a bunch of the projects working on this music NFTs. And Sport Momentum's the cap shot. We know that is built by the Flow. Flow is a company based in Vancouver. Also. And we have the domain names ENS, and then the ENS just had the airdrop for the ENS the East domain holders. And we have the R's and memes, right? It's also different kind of NFTs. All of those things, think about that. If they do have value, okay, you can, for example, then you can create a movie studio inside the metaverse. You cannot be the real actor in the physical world, okay? Because it requires different features, okay? It's also requires some opportunities or luckies to be an actor or actress. But you can open some studio inside the movie studio, inside the metaverse, and you can have some music. Okay, then you can have some your domain name inside this metaverse. Okay, and with your studio, you can use this to put some music. You can have different narrators, and with some good technology and build it in the 3D, and probably then you can make the movie inside this metaverse. Then you can be the director of this movie, and then this movie can also be another kind of NFT. Okay, it's the bill you make the movie in the metaverse. It has this value. The people who visit your virtual studio and can enjoy the movie and give you some other kind of reward. So everything is just in the plan paper, in the blueprint, and then it requires us to work on this and to build this world in the metaverse. So I think this is the end for the presentation. Okay, I will just put this picture here. So still, it is a kind of the Maslow's the hierarchy of need, but eventually we all have what? Okay, so besides those physiological needs, we also have the Wi-Fi. We also need the Wi-Fi and battery. So it's a kind of the very funny picture. So I hope that you enjoy this lecture. So this is the end. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor. That was an awesome lecture. Thank you for sharing your knowledge on DeFi and NFTs with us. And I agree, I think we should update Maslow's hierarchy with those.
Yeah, thanks.
Those are definitely necessary now. All right, our next speaker is Charlie Hu. Charlie is the director of Polygon Ecosystem for China. Charlie is going to talk to us about how blockchains and smart contracts will revolutionize the economy. So nice to have you, Charlie. You can start.
Hey, Kyle. Thank you, everybody, for having me. Thank you very much. Actually, my topic is not on the smart contract side. Maybe more on the gaming and metaverse side, because I also heard the professor just previously talking about metaverse, and we have a lot of things going on in metaverse and gaming. So please allow me to switch the topic today and to talk about the gaming and the metaverse ecosystem Polygon. I will be a bit short, and sorry for the schedule change. I had some issue with the scheduling. So my name is Charlie. I've been working with Polygon since this year, the beginning of this year. Has a lot of upgrades. We had basically see the growth from 200 projects to 3,000 projects within this year. I personally introduced around 450 projects to the ecosystem, give around 100 AMAs and a lot of offline events talks as well. So we have shifting from very DeFi oriented focused, scaling solution to very, full scope gaming, NFT, metaverse focused, full stack solution. So I've been in the space since 2013, have been, previous early stage in Ethereum, early stage in Cosmos, Polkadot, and helping quite some ecosystem building and joined Polygons this year. And so let me skip the whole part of the Polygon. Actually, I've been talking about this for quite a while. I want to focus on talking about the gaming and metaverse ecosystem Polygon. There's a lot of tremendous growth and a lot of fascinating stuff going on. So as you can see, there's a lot of projects built on Polygon because of low gas fee and scaling, and it's 100% EVM compatible to Ethereum. So if you're an Ethereum developer, you are already by default a Polygon developer without learning a new code, a new language, and it's very similar tech structure, just with thousands of times cheaper transaction fee and so on. So we have the Metaverse Gaming Alliance, partnering with Atari, Decentraland, Sandbox, CryptoVassal, a lot of the leading metaverse projects. Also, some really fast-growing gaming projects like Zedround backed by A16Z, Avagachi backed by Aave Ecosystem Fund, and many other new ones coming up. So far, we have more than 300 projects in the space. We really see the Web3 gaming is a paradigm shift for gaming industry. Gaming industry itself is very highly competitive already, with pretty high user acquisition cost. It needs to have a new model for the business innovation. So we see the play to earn or the Web3 gaming integrating with NFT assets is a very interesting direction. So Polygon really wants to support that with our technology and smart contract side, and also create the biggest facilitator of blockchain gaming and NFT globally. We've been talking to a lot of AAA studios, Blizzard, EA Sports, Zynga, Ubisoft, a lot of the top gaming studios and the companies we've been talking with, and also trying to facilitate some kind of collaboration to basically bring those people to that Web3 world. And we provide a 360-degree support all the way from incubation, code development, tooling, developer ecosystem, marketing support, but also funding, advisors, and so on. We've been working with multiple global accelerator such as Outlier Ventures, Animoca Brink, SOSV, Hashkey, Y Combinator, and some other leading accelerators in the world to find the best entrepreneur in the world. And let them basically build things on top of Polygon or Web3. So the Polygon Studio sets as a separate entity focused on gaming and metaverse. We really think the new gaming metaverse for the new gaming paradigm for new developers to build things on chain, as what the professor just mentioned about Loot and some other native on-chain gaming projects. We want to see how to find interesting new model for tokenomics and also new product design. So we've been talking and doing all kinds of hackathon and sponsoring hackathon with East Global, with Dora Hacks, with Indian Blockchain Alliance, and so on, to find all kinds of developers from all over the world. So there's still two hackathons is still ongoing. One is from India, called Built It. The other one is from Lisbon and Portugal and EU East and Scaling hackathon. So in terms of gaming, let me talk about something what we've been finding, right? So data from June to October, we have seen tremendous shift and pretty huge growth in the Polygon gaming. A lot of active wallet address in Polygon has been shifting from DeFi to gaming. That's something we are seeing over 242 monthly growth. We're still seeing the growth, keep at such a high rate every month. We really see all kinds of interesting gaming entering the space. A lot of other games have bring more than 200,000 daily active users, on the blockchain. So that's a very interesting growth curve. The depth data in Polygon gaming has been updating, increasing every day, and yeah, that's something we're seeing. Hopefully, we're seeing more and more interesting metaverse and gaming project entering the space. We are certainly welcoming those developers to build things on top of us and support them. So we have the small grant and the marketing support, technical guidance, and connecting all kinds of ecosystem resources for all those developers. So let me talk about gaming a little bit more to deep dive. Gaming is an interesting industry. I was thinking across from the entire human society. It's like the ninth art, right? We have a lot of interesting way to deconstruct what is a game, right? You can categorize this with the theme, with the play mechanism, with the main characteristic, the game type, or let's just say for the game genre, right? SLG, RPG, MMORPG, mobile, FPS, all kinds of way we can categorize things. So gaming is certainly not just one game rules all, right? We have a lot of diversified games, fits in different type of game users, user persona, right? It's certainly one of the biggest industry in the space. With COVID actually still in this, it's still happening. People have to start traveling and other practical reason. I think metaverse and gaming will be very, very bullish in the next upcoming years. But in the Web3 gaming, the main difference is we see the shift from the traditional game developer to player, and have a publishing linear model to have a governance model in the Web3. We're seeing NFTs serve as an interesting asset layer, and we have guilds such as YGG, MaoDao, GGG, CGG, some other really interesting guilds serving as a very interesting decentralized autonomous organization model to maintain and co-govern the Web3 games. So that gives a very interesting paradigm shift on the power ownership, and also the dynamics with the game economy and the game community. So we see a very interesting way how Web3 games have been evolving. So GameFi and Metaverse, sorry, I'm using this in English, in Chinese, but I would describe it in English. So I think GameFi and Metaverse have a bit difference. Really depends on the direction we're going, right? A lot of GameFi projects we're seeing in the space are pretty interesting, very interesting game design, tokenomics, but they serve more on the, I would say, on the game, how to let people to play more and more with play to earn, and that kind of game design. Semi closed or centralized, some of the games, but we're seeing the future of Web3 or Metaverse is more open, UGC based. People are able to create interesting content, engage with their users, and actually make money with that kind of open world. We're seeing those two are growing in parallel, and we're seeing that's interesting things are merging or diverging from two angles as well. So how to get people get addicted or somehow hooked on the games, the very interesting topic. The game developer needs to think about it. So we have a system, vertical system to system integrate all kinds of Web2 games entering the space. We help them to do the game economy, tokenomic design, strategic partnership on the ecosystem. And we've seen very interesting game middleware infrastructure, to actually facilitate and make it even smoother for Web2 games entering Web3. And Polygon sits as basically the layer 2, or let's say blockchain infrastructure to facilitate that. The main principle for all this is we try to help to deliver, or let those developers to deliver meaningful games, not just a PPT, as a real product, which is playable, which is fun to play, and it actually makes sense in terms of game economy and all that, right? Hopefully we can, those games can last a long time, not just very short term. So we're seeing interesting guilds actually being formed out and evolving and growing very fast. And basically we have to ask ourselves and ask all the developers and practitioners in the space, right? How to make Web2 games enter Web3 more easily. We see still some things need to be built, such as DeFi protocols like stablecoin, fiat on ramps, for the game economy. We are seeing NFT dynamic or evolution protocols need to be built. That will be helpful for the game items put on the NFT and actually grow along the ways. We need to find interesting fiat on ramps to engage in all kinds of non-crypto people entering the space more easily. And of course, we need to have better, stronger, and maybe cheaper, gaming engines to do, high quality 3D and gaming content, and of course the Metaverse content, right? Metaverse, infrastructure and all the open worlds, Metaverse platforms. We're seeing multiple really good ones like Blocktopia, Sandbox, really leading the growth in the space. Yeah, so centralized games and the decentralized games and the GameFi economy has certain difference, right? The one on the top is just a centralized way of, World of Warcraft, an auction house, which is centralized database management, right? And then we have the Axie model with SLP, which is the utility token within the game economy, but need to have a really good design. Otherwise, the chart look like this because of some of the issues with the dynamics. People keep dumping tokens. And we have, of course, the professors mentioned about this, right? The 7 layers metaverse. We're seeing that happening in the space as well. We're seeing gaming tapping into all kinds of fields, not just game itself, and about social, work, mental health, fitness, finance, and education. Everything can be gamified, make it more meaningful and engaged, and actually keep using and using. Hopefully, game can bring us all kinds of new universe and a digital universe and interesting interesting lives. So I always say it's not game over; it's actually game on. So with a very short with limited time, hopefully that gives people a little teaser about what has been going on in the gaming field within Polygon ecosystem. If you guys want to reach out to me, feel free to find out by Telegram or LinkedIn or Twitter. And thank you very much, Ching ID, for giving us the opportunity to share what's going on with Polygon, with gaming. Would like to hear and talk with you guys more. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. I got a little nostalgic when you showed the picture of the World of Warcraft auction house. I think that's what helped me understand how NFTs could be valuable, how digital assets could hold value. All right, thank you for that talk.
Let's start.
We will move on now to our final speaker for today's session. We are going to have Julian Tan. Okay. Julian Tan is the Binance Smart Chain Ecosystem Coordinator, and today he is going to be talking to us about GamingFi and building a sustainable gaming economy. Nice to have you, Julian.
Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, can you guys actually see or hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. A great introduction. Thanks for everyone else who was speaking before me as well. So without further ado, I hate to waste anyone's time, so I'm just gonna share my screen, and yeah, hope you guys don't stay bored. Everyone can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, I'm just gonna run through like this, so it's a lot easier to see. Right. So, I'm here to share a bit more in terms of GamingFi. I think Charlie previously was sharing a bit in terms of NFTs, you know, the games as well. So this would be, in a way, an expansion into, you know, what is actually GamingFi, and for people who are interested in running their own games or something, how to build a sustainable gaming economy, right? So some background context is obviously on BSC as well as some of the other games. There are a lot of games being developed, right? Some of them very successful, some of them not so successful. So this would, what I'm sharing today basically tries to deep dive into why those games have been successful for what they've been doing, as well as for those that aren't successful, why aren't they successful, right? So the first one, obviously, a background in terms of what, you know, how gaming came about, how the entire GamingFi phenomenon came about. You know, we obviously had, you know, World of Warcraft that was previously mentioned by Charlie as well. We had Diablo, you know, MapleStory, even the more recently popular Genshin Impact, right? I think for buying and selling of those digital goods are actually not new, right? If you have actually played any of those games, you could actually buy any of those kind of equipments, or even like mounts or that kind of stuff in game, right? I think Charlie also mentioned the WoW auction house. So a lot of these kind of transactions actually take place in like an in-game marketplace. However, you know, most of the game company actually ban like gold farming or any other forms of monetary exchange of in-game assets, right? So for example, you might be able to purchase something in-game with like the gold that you get in-game, but you know, a lot of these games, they don't actually allow you to actually use like your real money to directly buy the item off, right? And these legacy games, they will kind of like introduce bans to actually prohibit gamers' ability to realize some of the value of the assets that they purchase or earn, right? So in other words, you don't actually own anything in this game, especially when you're out of the game, right? Because you can't control those assets. You can only control them in game. Hence, you know, the moment you log off, it's not yours, right? And if we take into some of the take a look into some of the other games business models, we had like you know, obviously microtransactions, loot boxes. I think loot boxes had a lot of heat coming from the European regulators, because loot boxes are like, you know, RNG, right? Random generated kind of chances before someone could get like a particular kind of equipment, right? So it's essentially could be said like gambling, right? So maybe before we look into like some of the real world good examples, you can look at some that didn't work so well, right? So one very famous example is obviously Diablo 3. I'm a huge fan of Diablo, WoW, And I think Diablo 3 is a pretty good example because obviously the game pales in pretty huge comparison as compared to its predecessors, right? So the business model is very simple, right? You kill the monsters, you get the gold, you get the equipment, right? However, the game is a bit kind of mundane and boring. Like the moment you clear the storyline, right? Seems like, you know, apart from PvP, the only way to play the game is basically to kill monsters for the loot, right? Which could be very repetitive and obviously, like I said, boring. And then, you know, Diablo 3, so when it first launched, you know, right, people who actually play the game, they didn't have like auction house within the game itself, but they just went on and then implemented that auction house after that, right? So just a context in terms of how Diablo 3's auction house works is that, you know, real money auction house, that these will allow people to directly purchase in-game items using real money. So this was basically one of the newer kind of experimentation that Blizzard did. However, you know, players started to find it so much easier to purchase it off the auction rather than, you know, really killing the monsters, right? So it essentially broke the game, and Blizzard just, you know, shut it off because nobody wanted to spend time killing those stupid monsters anymore, right? People would just, you know, just pay the money, buy, and then, you know, feel OP or, you know, whatever floats their ego. So obviously, you know, Blizzard shut it off. For World of Warcraft, I think for many years, World of Warcraft obviously is and probably is still the top MMORPG in the space. So why did it work, right? As compared to Diablo 3, I think because like there's a lot of ways to actually win or get good in the game, right? There is obviously questing, PvP raids, dungeons. For people who are playing obviously Shadowlands or the most I think was Legions, right? They had like raids and dungeons where you could get like super good equipment. And you know, for people who are just interested in PvPing, you could essentially get like very good gear through just mainly PvP as well. So players now had a choice, right? If they want to do and you know, farm their equipment or do whatever they want, either via the main storyline, PvP raids or dungeon, right? So essentially, what happens is that a free-to-play player, right, if they spend enough time, they would be essentially able to compete with someone who's willing to pay, right? Just because simply there's multiple ways to win. So right now, we're going to go into a more crypto kind of version of things. In a nutshell, just summarizing between what I've covered so far, a characteristics of a good game would be obviously the ability to segment, you know, like-minded players, right, or similar skill levels. Nobody wants to play against like a professional player and get, you know, screwed all the time, right? Obviously, people play the game because of the satisfaction of winning, especially in games like Dota, League of Legends, right? So obviously, ranking systems is a very important mechanic there. You need both a blend between of play to win as well as free to play, right? Because, you know, free to play are obviously important because they make the people who are playing to win feels good, right? In terms of how good they are and how OP they are, right? A lot of the good games, for example, WoW, they focus on inputs, not essentially the finished goods, right? You could craft like certain really good items or complete like certain quests in order to exchange for like a super good weapon. And sometimes even with the super good weapons, you have like I think it's called, I can't remember, but essentially you could choose like, yes, your talent, right? So those are essentially things that helps define how good you are, and really depends on your skill level in going ahead and, you know, winning, right? So this essentially creates a cycle where, you know, activities or know-how becomes like intrinsic skills and highly desirable, right? Because skill is something that you have to cultivate. It's not something that you could easily just pay for money. And for people who are willing to get good at a game, who don't necessarily have those skills, now they have a choice, right? They could either pay you for your information or, you know, buy your accounts off you for your achievements, right? So with regards to tokenizing inputs, right, it really helps to reinforce the development of multiple activities, and as well as help with rebalancing of endgame, right? If you're essentially only tokenizing the finished goods, which is, for example, like a character instead of like a particular piece of equipment, players would basically resist these changes to any finished goods that you guys have made, especially if they spend real money, right? And additionally, free-to-play players are discouraged from playing because you're never gonna compete with play-to-win players. I mean, like I just said, nobody likes the feeling of playing every single round and getting smashed every single round, right? Play to win obviously also relies on them competing against themselves or cannibalizing like those small free-to-play players, right, to validate the money that they've spent. So it's very safe to assume without FTPs, play to win players will eventually die out. So some questions when designing like the tokenomics, right? For people who are you know, familiar with cryptocurrency or some of the GamingFi business models, it's always a question to be answered, right? I either go for the single or a dual token, right? Just a single governance token with finite supply, or go along the X infinity road, where you have one token just primarily as a reward, and then the other one as a governance, right? So some important questions obviously to also take note is that if a token is actually fixed supply, right, how do you ensure that that token lasts, right? Because at the end of the day, this phenomenon that you're designing in your game is play to earn. So you're going to be giving us a lot of these tokens, right? So if it's fixed, you have to ensure that the token supply lasts, right? A lot of times what I notice in a lot of these games is that these developers are only thinking like 2 to 3 years runway, right? And a lot of times they don't actually really think or try to project the potential scaling within their business models, right? So a lot of these games, their token value actually capitulate on the open market the moment their player base gets really huge, right? And of course, you know, if a token is infinite, then how do you ensure that not too many tokens are minted? Because if too many supply are there without any form of buying pressure, then you know it's going to be worthless, right? Another important question to know is obviously, you know, how do users actually earn money? Like what are the mechanics that will determine how much they actually earn, and the frequency, right? How would you guys earn money? I think that's also very important. And the most important thing, like I've mentioned, you know, how does the game actually capture value for the tokens itself, right? Because if nothing in the game actually helps to capture the value for the tokens that you're creating, then there really isn't a point in terms of making this play to earn or making a blockchain game. Another dilemma that people always get stuck with is the question of whether the marketplace should be centralized or decentralized, right? In my opinion, decentralized marketplaces always work better. Free trade market would actually allow the place to determine what's the real price of the asset, and you know they just trade directly with one another instead of, you know, you purchasing it off the developer and then the developer selling it again and again to someone else, right? So just going back to the legacy games, some good examples that never work out is Star Wars Battlefront 2. That one got so much heat from the overall gaming community. They had, as well as the regulators, they had to basically retweak their business model over and over again, right? And gacha games, while those are enjoyable due to that, gambling element, in many European countries, these games are actually banned. Developers have to disclose what are the real percentages, or make a guaranteed way that a player would be able to acquire an asset, right? So in terms of, when you actually purchase from a developer and you buy something from a player, that's totally different, right? Developer, they just determine whatever price that they want to pay, that you will want to pay, and sell it to you. And in many cases, that money is never justified, right? But obviously, if you're buying from a player who actually earned that, then hey, that money is well spent, right? Because now this guy has spent maybe 800 hours on the game, you're paying like $100. And then if you're purchasing it off him, it's like you're paying $100 to save 800 hours of your time. You have like some sort of internal justification there, right? And of course, decentralized marketplaces, they give the best autonomy and to allow others to come in, take control of the economy, and build like an entirely new business model on top of that, right? Some of the good ones that I think was previously mentioned as well by Charlie was stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh games, Avocado Good Games, basically guild DAOs, right? That actually functions and build their business models around the NFTs of these kind of GameFi games. So just some case studies, and these are BSC based projects. So Axie Infinity is not really a BSC based project, even though they are on BSC to a certain extent. And that's why obviously I'm sharing. Axie Infinity is one of the most famous GameFi games as well. They have two tokens, right? AXS, SLP. So SLP is basically, if you relate it back to what I've shared so far, is actually the rewards token, right? And AXS is the governance token, right? I think the minimum purchase or the entry price is not exactly US dollars 900 anymore, due to the changing market conditions or the volatility of the token. But I think when I was doing the slides like several weeks ago, it was about $900, right? And I've shared in my previous slide as well. It's incredibly important to actually capture the value of those tokens. So if you look at the token for AXS, right, governance is definitely one of those that helps the token actually capture all that kind of value. Receiving a percentage of game revenue, right? You see that happening with stocks as well, or in the form of dividends, right? Staking incentive is obviously another really awesome way to capture value. Breeding as as a revenue also helps to fuel the economy, as well as the demand for the AXS token. Because why would people actually want to buy those tokens, right? Without any of these reasons or these kind of use cases, then essentially the token's worthless. It wouldn't be worth like what, $150 right now, right? So I think once again, very important to actually capture value of your token. Next thing, player revenue model for Axie Infinity. I think it's very simple, right? Battle, earn SLP through your daily quest, and whatever PvPing that you're interested in, right? You could also earn the governance tokens through direct tournaments that Axie Infinity actually hosts, and of course, breeding, right? Since you have to actually spend the money to purchase like good NFTs or NFTs to stay competitive within the game. How does the game earn money? Breeding would cost you both AXS as well as SLP, right? The SLP that are actually collected goes to the treasury, right, as revenue, and those SLP are burned, right? For AXS as well, 85% of their game revenue actually comes from breeding. So you can actually see how popular, this breeding concept actually works. Whenever someone breeds and then proceeds to sell those axes, that's what they call it, or Axie Infinity basically charge like 4.5% of the fee that a player is selling it for. In addition to all of that, you obviously have like land sales, you could have stickers, as well as participating in tournaments is not free all the time, right? So these all help Axie Infinity drive like a very healthy game revenue for them. So some advantages as well as some disadvantages, right? I think dual tokens to separate the revenue and rewards is always like an excellent idea, because XS obviously has like a fixed supply, SLP has like an infinite supply, right? And AXS being the main governance token, it obviously has like a much higher demand. With that limited supply as well, the price fluctuation is a lot higher. With the redistribution of like the revenue, it really creates like this entire closed loop, right? You play, you earn, you stake what you earn, and those would actually in turn lead to the increase of price. So the increase of price of the token, as a game developer, you stand to benefit the most, right? For SLP, right, has infinite supply, which makes the reward rate pretty much stable. You could essentially go so down, it's just worth like a fraction of a cent, but that could stay, right? If someone is actually willing to obviously buy at the end of the day. So you would have to structure this in a way that there is a very strong purchase demand for all the utility for the token within the game, as well as how you could constantly cut the supply for the token itself, so that when people earn the money, there is actually something that they're earning and not like a worthless token, right? Some of the disadvantages of Axie Infinity is obviously its high entry to the game, right? Not everyone is able or willing to spend $900 just to play the game. And with crypto, since the price is so volatile, when the price of that token actually soar, the barrier of entry also soars, right? So if Axie Infinity continues going up to 300, maybe you're looking at an entry ticket of 1,080, right? The inflation rate of Axies is also very high, and right now there isn't a proper way to reduce the amount of Axies in the market, right? So it's safe to assume that if the player base does not continue growing, this increase in the supply of Axies will eventually lead to its valuation being reduced, and then one day as well, that value is going to go to zero. The second case study we have is actually Mobox. So Mobox is a 100% BSC native game, and it's been quite popular these 2 days. Their token is actually even listed on Binance.com recently, right? So very straightforward. Ecosystem only has one token. The entry is basically free. This is an entirely free to play game. Or depending on the NFTs, you could actually spend about $200 or something, up to $200 to get them, right? So with the Mobox token value, what does it do, right? It really allows users to submit and vote on the proposals pertaining to the protocol. Once again, governance, right? These tokens are obviously only rewarded through playing if you're not buying it off on the open market. And these in-game purchases that whatever Mobox had always requires Mobox, right? Mobox as a project also regularly conduct buybacks as well as burn their tokens, right? So they could essentially remove that kind of excess token supply on the open market, or just removing it entirely from the circulating supply all the time. So when you're actually decreasing the supply, as well as the purchase demand actually goes up, more and more players are coming in and have those demand for the tokens, then you would have essentially an increase in the price of your tokens. So for the Payment revenue model, it's very, very simple. People would earn either key or Mobox tokens by playing, right? Or even staking the existing tokens to earn even more, right? You could then proceed to use these tokens to either purchase NFTs from the open marketplace, or you could unlock NFT loot boxes at random, right? So you have two choices. Now, one, you could pay for a specific NFT that you want, or you could use that currency to then get an NFT at random, right? So obviously the player has a choice whether I want to earn more money and then spend more money on something that I want and I know for certainty I can get, or just let luck determine what I get, right? So that obviously means players can directly sell their unlocked NFTs on the marketplace. For the game, once again, similar to Axie Infinity, for every player that actually sells those NFTs, they will actually take the cut from it, right? And for people who are not familiar with Mobox, they actually encourage you to stake your tokens, right? By staking your tokens, you can get like particular NFT loot boxes or NFTs, or you could even earn more key/Mobox tokens, right? So if you're withdrawing those tokens ahead of time, for example, or before the minimum specified time frame, right? Then Mobox will be taxing you obviously 1% to 4% of whatever you have plus whatever you've earned, right? And they are charging 5% for the marketplace fee. So this is basically Mobox's game revenue model. So just to look at some of the advantages as well as disadvantages, I think Mobox token at the heart of the whole ecosystem, right? So it really captures all its value of whatever its ecosystem might bring. That randomization element present makes the game actually quite entertaining and addictive, right? And that's why so many people are against that gacha or RNG kind of system, because it actually gets people hooked, right? Mobox has an exceptionally low entry price for players. If you have like some of the tokens already own crypto, you can provide liquidity to them, and in return get like Mobox or a key. You don't actually have to spend a single cent, right? And for Mobox, they don't just have one game; they have several. I think they have like 4 games right now, which each of them being like different kind of gameplay, right? So players don't actually feel bored. Unfortunately, the disadvantages is that for people who don't actually own Mobox tokens would be at a disadvantage, right? As the avenues to get those key tokens will be lesser, right? So as I suggested, if you actually have those tokens, you will be able to do more things with it, and which allows you to again get key tokens, right? So if they're not actually spending money to get like or procure at Mobox tokens on the open market, the only way they could actually get that would be through weekly competitions, which actually limits a casual player's ability to earn. But I mean, you still earn, right? So some of the key takeaways from both cases that I've shared, right? I think it's incredibly important that games should present a very reasonable barrier of entry, right? But like I said, nobody wants to pay like $2,000 before they can actually start to play a game, right? The rewards payouts should always be stable, regardless of ongoing market conditions, because at the end of the day, if you're designing a play to earn game, right, like you don't want to make it a case where today a player might earn 1 cent, and then the next day they earn like $1,000 for the same amount of effort spent, right? It actually puts off players, especially people who are looking to do this on a regular basis, right? Another key takeaway, obviously, you want to build like your player base with people who are willing to stay with the game, and really rely upon it as a viable side income, rather than people who are just coming in, pumping and dumping. That's like the number one taboo in the crypto world. Gacha mechanics obviously are entertaining. It also allows the game developers themselves to actually balance the game, right? For example, if you're introducing something that is really OP or strong, you could always tweak down the percentage yourself so that you don't kill the game by having everyone or a lot of people getting the same particular piece of equipment or NFT, right? Once again, tokenomics is incredibly important, right? You need to have proper ways to capture value, as well as proper ways to really reduce the circulating supply, so that the increasing supply is not more than the increasing demand. Another way you guys need to implement within the game is obviously to ensure that there's not an oversupply of characters and NFTs, else that would basically lead to higher inflation of those assets that you guys are working very hard to create in terms of the NFT design and all that kind of stuff. Holders of the governance token should also receive incentives based on the performance of the game, right? So that is the best way to actually capture value, just like how stocks actually work through dividends. So for this is basically what some of the analysis framework that the BSC core team uses, right? So for us, these are safe to say, if you're creating a game and you're speaking to any one of the core team, we will be looking at these key metrics, whether the tokenomics of your game design is solid, obviously product UI UX design, because that would essentially determine a user's experience, right? And determine how much they actually want to play the game. Operation and marketing as well is incredibly important. If you're not making noise about your game, right, nobody's gonna know anything about your game as well. A lot of people think, when you're in different chains or when you're on a particular blockchain, like, it's their project, right? They just run it themselves. But for us, we realize that more successful kind of projects, they usually tend to have a lot more collaborations within the same ecosystem or outside of that ecosystem, right? Because then it helps them produce a lot more polished kind of features for their users, right? When designing a game as well, I think right now the trend is really mobile first, right? Regardless of whatever you say, people are always looking to play on mobile because everyone's so busy and everyone's always on their mobile phones, right? So having that on mobile would definitely be a major plus point. I think backed by funds is also another thing that is incredibly important because you definitely need funding, right? You need runway in order to do your marketing. You need runway in terms of paying your developers and all that to create like entire game, right? Experience is obviously another thing we look at because I think in the crypto industry, there's two kind of people that are working on games, right? One are real game studio people who have like a track record in game industries. And then the second one are just like crypto people, right? And so it's a conundrum because crypto people know how to design like solid tokenomics, but they don't actually have experience in terms of what makes a game good or running a game, right? And then on the other hand, you have like game studios which are like super good at like delivering games, but they don't actually have like any form of experience designing tokenomics, right? And that leads to some of those tokenomics actually collapsing, right? Clear roadmap is also another thing that's incredibly important, right? People obviously want to know what's going to come out and the plans and how committed you are to your game. So for the BSC ecosystem, I think we have like a couple of channels that we could actually help like game developers go about, scaling fast, right? One of them is obviously, for people who are looking to do it like a fair launch, really without relying too much on the VCs that are backing them. They could obviously go for IFO or IDO. We obviously have like a lot of partners in that space. We have like PancakeSwap. PancakeSwap is immensely huge. It's the biggest DEX as well as community on BSC. ApeSwap, our MBB2 winner, and then more traditional ones that people are familiar with. There's cross-chain agnostic like Ignition, Polkastarter, right? Bootstrapping or liquidity, once again, PancakeSwap, BabySwap, as well as ApeSwap. All these three DEXs are the major ones. They could help out, whenever you want to bootstrap liquidity for your token, right? We also have the $1 billion growth fund to support all BSC-based projects, right? Out of the $1 billion growth fund, obviously a fair portion of those would be allocated to that most valuable builder program, where projects who are actually building on BSC and they're able to, in a very short amount of time, once they've launched, to gain a lot of users, transactions, and all that kind of stuff. Then they get like really good interactions with some of the successful projects on BSC, like or even like more traditional partners like Chainlink and all that kind of stuff. And the best thing that is, finalists obviously have like a great opportunity to either get like a listing directly on Binance.com or direct investments from Binance Labs, right? And part of the $1 billion growth fund is what we have like a $1 million GamingFi liquidity fund, which helps with the increasing gas fees that games might be exposed to, especially when the market's in its bull market and the prices of BNB are going up very fast. We also have the Priority 1 program that really helps developers go about incentivizing white hat hackers and all that to actually come and battle test their protocol or their smart contracts, right? At the end of the day, when you're designing anything, right, whether it's DeFi, GameFi, whatever, your number one priority should always be the safety of your users' funds, right? So obviously this Priority 1 program helps developers to set up like bounties, and helps to incentivize by giving like bonus payments whenever like a critical or high level kind of issue actually gets identified by these white hat hackers, right? So for anyone who's listening who owns their own protocol, if you don't have a bounty program set up, you should, right? Spending like 500K is definitely a lot lesser than having to pay out like several millions of dollars if and when your protocol gets compromised. So I'm done. That's all I have to share today. If you guys want to find out more information about BSC or Binance Smart Chain, these are our social media handles as well as our website. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Julian. That was an excellent talk. A lot of value there, especially on your GameFi analysis framework. I think everybody can take a lot of value from that. If you're building a project, you can understand what investors are looking for. And if you're investing in a project, this gives you a guideline of some other things to look for as well. So thank you so much for sharing and being a part of this session today. I'd also like to thank Dr. Wang and Charlie for joining us. Our next session will be December 4th at 6 p.m. PST. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.